Hello, my loves. So, if you are here from part one, or like, quite honestly, you could watch the video without part one, but this is going to be me reading the cards that I pulled. Um, I pulled the cards one way, but I'm getting called to read them the opposite way, so right to left instead of left to right. But we'll start with the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords basically talks about violent disagreements. And the way that I see that is like we have, I want to say, 5 placements in retrograde right now. So I am not the only one that is getting a lot of stuff pulled to the surface, a lot of stuff needing to be healed and closed out and dealt with and whatever else. With the Nine of Wands, it talks about a cycle of completion. And I would say that your healings, it's not done, but it's going through with those final lessons. So with that comes like right now, which is like the current energy, which I would say, so with the Two of Swords, it's talking about like a stalemate. And I would say, I would even put it a step further to say that like 2 has to do with like duality, but also action. So I'd say it's something's about to happen, but the tower moment is needing to like go through. And I would guess that right now this is probably one of my bigger tower moments. I'm not saying that there's not going to be another one, because I don't know, that just feels like it's been the last 2 months. It's like thing after thing after thing. But the tower moment is needing to be felt in order to release and move on. And I think like I've had a lot of different dreams that are like really big releases of energy and emotion that is just like pent up and like in every crack and crevice that it could possibly find in my body that it was being stored in. With the Lover's card, it talks about risky commitments, and I think that that just has to do with the healing path and journey, the healing path in general, which is basically like healing is not linear, and it doesn't always feel the best. It could talk to future endeavors and relationships, relationships in general, friendships, business partners, whatever, that like those things are to come after you're like releasing all of this, because you're like opening yourself up to new possibilities and new people and making room or whatever. But the way that I see that for the most part is the healing journey in general. A lot of the time people want to put it down and hide it and shove down and suppress whatever's going on. As I'd say, both generational and societal curse, we all deal with avoidance. Avoidance of feelings, avoidance of problems, avoidance of processing. And so I'd say that like it's breaking through those systems and like being done with them for good. Even in the midst of it hurting like a bitch going through it. With the Four of Wands, it talks about well-earned rest. And with the King of Wands, it talks about unexpected good news. So I'd say that this is a time where, because all of this stuff is being brought to the surface, I'm not saying don't create, and I'm not saying like don't continue to move forward with your life and stuff like that, but don't like overextend yourself, because I think right now it's probably a lesson of like right now you're needing to be very tender with yourself, very like nurturing and stuff like that, giving yourself that self-compassion and self-love, because the lessons that you're learning, they're not necessarily going to be easy, like to admit sometimes. Either to admit that you've been the bad guy, to admit that you may have had your Delulu moments, to admit that, like, maybe your pride and ego got in the way. And maybe that's, like, I mean, for me, I've never really thought that, like, my pride gets in the way. And I don't feel like it has, but maybe my ego has. And so it's admitting all those things, and it's not a moment of, like, needing to be shamed about that, but you may have feelings of shame that get brought up about it. And that brings me to the oracle cards that have, like, I have this deck I got recently. It's called the Starseed Oracle. That brings me to the cards that I pulled, which is, it says called, which is soul gifts and training. It's time to step up, which I guess I'll put as a warning, like, I have been having ascension symptoms like crazy. I've had headaches for the last, like, 2 weeks, almost nonstop, and it's always, like, either right here or, like, my temples, which I almost never get my temples. It's almost always in the back of my head and my forehead, but it's just, it literally feels like a band around my head for the last, like, 2 weeks. I've been nauseous and getting sick at work, which, I mean, I've known for the longest time that my job doesn't serve me, so I'm guessing that's just, like, my body catching up and being like, I can't keep doing this. With perspective, it calls to perspective. We also have a full moon coming, and this, like, to me calls to full moon, which is August 9th, which is 2 days from now. It says, none of this matters, zoom out, common ground. So I think that this is, like, a matter of looking at the big picture, especially when all these feelings get brought up about, like, shame and guilt and admitting to yourself that you're not always going to be right, and having to take steps back in order to make that, like, big leap. But those steps back, they're going to feel like you're literally, like, taking steps back that to, like, a cliff. And that cliff is, like, the void of going back into all those conditions and avoiding your feelings and avoiding the problem and not taking that big leap of, like, where you want to go, creating and making a healthier life for yourself. With the Lost Lands, it talks of soul memories and gifts. You've done this before. So this is, I guess, just like an affirmation for yourself that, like, you can do it. Keep going. Like, you may feel like the thing I always, like, use as an example is, like, I don't know if you've ever been, like, working out before, like, even physically, and you're so tired that you want to cry, and, like, people will say something to, like, push you and be like, come on, you can do it, you're almost done, and whatever else, and you just, like, you're doing it, but you're crying, and you feel miserable doing it, and it's just, like, taking those steps forward to keep going. So, I mean, I hope this helps. I hope if you are going through a similar experience, or you've got your own issues to deal with, that you you figure out your balance. You figure out, like, take the time for rest, even if that just means, like, laying in bed and staring at a wall. Listen to good music. A crystal that was called to me today and, like, symbol is obsidian and, like, crows and ravens. I got that in the mail. It's for my shrine, which is over there. But the other thing is, like, the song, I think it's I Told You Things by Gracie Abrams. I've been listening to that the last couple of days. So, yeah, I hope this helps. Have a good night.